Welcome to Raiders Roundtable, presented by America First Credit Union. I'm JT. That's the finalists for the NFL Hall of Fame. Eric Allen, season comes to an end on a disappointing way. Raiders had a chance. They started, I think, with energy, aggression, but the Chargers took over that game, and the Chargers are heading to the playoffs.
They are, and the Chargers, credit to them, they're a good football team. A couple years ago, we were in a similar situation, fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah. Remember that? And this football team has found their identity. They know what kind of football they want to play. It was on full display yesterday, and that's where we want to get. We want to get to a point where we know exactly what we're going to get at the end of ball games. Just came up a little short yesterday, but I thought it was a great effort defensively. Guys did a pretty good job, but the Chargers, you know, they're just a powerful football team, kind of hit us in the mouth. We weren't able to respond.
Well, your three big things we'll kick it off with. We're going to highlight three players who had consistent seasons here. Yeah. Jacoby Myers ended the season on a really big high note. We met his family this year. Right. You see him in the locker room after the game. He's always upbeat, a total pro, and yesterday, no doubt about it, he had a big game. He was the number one targeted player.
He was. Over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career, undrafted guy, so has a little chip on his shoulder or a big chip on his shoulder. Every time you talk to this young man, has a smile on his face, really appreciates the position and the opportunities given, and he's a foundation piece. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, JT. I'm going to talk about guys who I think belong on this football team, who are guys we can count on to be there when we hopefully raise that trophy, and he is one of those players. He's a foundation piece. He's a guy that is really going to take advantage of his opportunities. If you stick a number 2 corner on him because the number 1 guy is covering Brock Bowers, he's going to beat that guy all day. Really good route runner. Love him at the top of his routes. He gets some shakes left, right, works on cornerback's leverage, does everything well, run after catches there. He is the perfect number 2 receiver that you want on this football team.
I love his leadership in the locker room as we're looking at some of these plays that he makes. He's just a guy who's consistent. He comes out every game. Yeah. If he doesn't get targeted early, he's not down. He has a big second half of the game. And when you go to him early, especially in the red zone, what I want to see more of is him targeted in the red zone. Yes. Because he can make those high point catches. He makes those quick moves there around the goal line. And he's just an important piece going forward because there are a lot of decisions that are going to be made upstairs starting today.
That's right.
He's not one of them.
That's
He's a guy that's going to be here and have a big impact in years to come.
16 should be penciled in as a starter for this football team. And when you talk about red zone, that's the next step for him, to be able to get into the red zone and be a target with his shiftiness, his quickness, his ability to run routes, get in and out of his routes very quickly. I think that's going to bode well for this football team if Jacoby's really a great target in the red zone.
Another leader is Robert Spillane. He had another big year, solid year. Thought he should have got more consideration for the Pro Bowl. He was just always around the football. Another guy you can count on in the building, in the meetings, at practice, always met the media. Love everything about the guy, and he's an important part of the foundation of this defense, no matter who's here.
No matter what, who's here. But you know Max is going to be here, hopefully, you know, and that's the guy that we all kind of center this football team around. But the middle linebacker on a defense is so important, so critical, bringing both the front and the back end together. He does a really good job of that. He's around the ball. He's a ball hawk at the linebacker position. He's nasty. You know he looks like a Raider. So I love the fact that he's another foundational piece, always in the middle of the trouble. And you like that about a middle linebacker. I mean, he stands up guys in the holes. He's smart. He's really instinctive and has great instincts when he comes around on the blitzing package. He can cover, he can drop in zone, he can blitz the quarterback, he can lead. All those things you want a middle linebacker to do, Robert Spillane gets it done. Love him.
What kind of year would have he had with Kuntz and Wilkins?
With no one touching him, JT?
Max was injured down the stretch. If he had more depth at linebacker, I'm just wondering what could be with Robert Spillane with better players around him. He's got a lot of good players, but they were hurt for most of the year. So he had to pick up the slack for the players who weren't there. The pass rush was hindered because so many guys were out, and that would have opened him up for more sacks, for more fumble recoveries. I just think that he was that guy that could have benefited by the team being more healthy.
When you have that dominant tackle in front of a linebacker, JT, it makes all the difference. Now you can roam from sideline to sideline. You really connect with that tackle, the middle linebacker, and both those safeties, so the middle of the football field is secure and under control. And I think missing that tackle up front really hurt him a little bit, but he was able able to respond, recover, and continue to play big-time football throughout the whole year.
Well, we were all looking forward to Brock Bowers. We knew we were going to get something special, and he blew us all away. What a player. What a year. All the records that he has going forward. He put those records now in the books of Raider history.
Yeah.
And think of all the great players who have played for this franchise, never hit the rookie wall, as you talked about, and finished strong yesterday getting a touchdown.
Yeah, the foundational piece on offense for us this year, and had a year to be, in the record books, obviously, one of the great tight ends in the NFL history as a rookie. We've seen a lot of guys. I thought the Kansas City first game was a passing of the torch from Kelsey to Big Brock, and Brock continued after whole season to get better each and every week. No matter what was thrown at him as far as the offense is concerned, where he was lined up, and then the defense. After maybe the third or fourth week when this guy was really cooking, the defense, they're putting the number one corner on him, the safety, the linebacker, chipping him at the line of scrimmage, and you see able to catch the ball. His run after contact, amazing. His ability to be there and be available and play the whole season, amazing. And then in the games, the kind of performance that he was able to bring us, being able to get double teamed, still being able to make big time plays. Just love the fact that Brock Bowers really accepted his role, understood what was expected of him each and every week, knowing he was going to go into the game and be the guy, and then continue to get those great stats and those great numbers. Man, just had a great year, and love we have Brock on his football team.
Did it with 3 different quarterbacks.
Yes.
Okay, who aren't Pro Bowlers.
Yes.
All right, all players that play hard. Imagine if he has that consistency and what's going to happen at that position going forward. I love what Brock was able to do. Consistency is going to be a big deal around here.
Yeah.
Because the guys who are coming back, the very good players, now you surround them, as we'll talk about coming up, in the draft and free agency. And how much better will Brock play with the number one wide receiver, and again, Michael Mayer having more time there. So I think the sky's the limit for this offense, led by Brock Bowers going forward.
Right, for sure. Brock is the guy. When you think about a defensive player and circling in the game plan, you want to circle 89 and know exactly where he is on each and every play, and he understands and knows that. And this offense can get to a point where we can feature him, have him just dominate football games, and then everyone around him will be better players because of his dominance on Sundays.
Let's get to you lighting the torch. Come on. Unbelievable. I think I was more excited than you. Your family's there, your wife. I'm looking around saying, look at this.
Yeah.
How about that look? Come on.
Man, the jacket. That's a Mr. Davis special right there.
No
the jacket.
Doubt about
a great guy, Marcus, got me the jacket, and just it was an honor.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an honor, really. The family was here. My wife, who's been with me since high school.
Yes.
And so we were so excited. Yeah, so excited. This is a big moment. This is a big moment, JT. Hopefully, this is the first big moment in what we think is and hope it's going to be a 2025 year of me also getting that gold jacket. So, man, it was a blast. And all you guys, everybody was with me behind me there.
Well, you're not afraid of heights.
Yeah,
what did that look like?
It was up there a little bit, JT. It was up there a little bit, but good stuff, man.
Congratulations to you. What a great honor for the great Eric Allen. Coming up, former MVP Rich Gannon will join us one more time to evaluate the quarterback position and look forward to next year as we continue on Raiders Roundtable. Raiders Roundtable is brought to you by America First Credit Union, the official credit union of the Las Vegas Raiders.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
How did Ella bake her way to the top? It all started with one smart decision. She test drove a certified used truck from her local Ford dealer. It was inspected, backed by a Ford warranty, and fit her budget. A Carfax report was the cherry on top. Soon, a pinch of confidence became a truckload of ambition. Cupcakes became customers, customers became regulars. Ella's next great investment? Herself. We're not saying Ford Blue Advantage was her whole recipe to success, but a key ingredient, no doubt.
In 300 feet, turn left. With Cox's fiber-powered internet, you can do brilliant things.
Exit approaching.
Like upload your voice to Dad's GPS in no time flat.
And I miss you, Daddy. Happy birthday.
Get multi-gig download speeds powered by fiber. Upgrade your internet today with Cox, the nation's fastest internet provider. Limited availability in select areas.
Hey Raider Nation, when you come to see the Raiders take the field at Allegiant Stadium, you should do it from the best seats in the house. So grab an ice cold Coors Light, and you can enter to win tickets for these Coors Light silver seats at Allegiant Stadium. With plush seating, state-of-the-art beverage coolers, and wireless phone chargers, there's no better place to watch your Raiders bring home the win. Celebrate responsibly.
It's in our very nature to find exhilaration in the new, to seek the excitement of the unexpected, an endless yearning to experience what lies beyond the everyday.
How did Ella bake her way to the top? It all started with one smart decision. She test drove a certified used truck from her local Ford dealer. It was inspected, backed by a Ford warranty, and fit her budget. A Carfax report was the cherry on top. Soon, a pinch of confidence became a truckload of ambition. Cupcakes became customers, customers became regulars. Ella's next great investment? Herself. We're not saying Ford Blue Advantage was her whole recipe to success, but a key ingredient, no doubt.
It's game day, the day we've been waiting for. And this is more than just a game, it's a passion, a lifestyle. Here at the Raider Image, you're part of our team. Whether you're in the stands or cheering from home, we've got your back. Feel the confidence, own the game.
We
are the Raider Image. Your game, your gear, exclusively at the Raider Image.
Welcome back to Raiders Roundtable. Our MVP, Rich Gannon, joins us every week. Rich, let's begin with your assessment of Aiden O'Connell. In this game in particular, it was a big spot for him going up against Justin Herbert when you looked at the tape. What did you see? And you called the game, so you had a bird's eye view of all of it.
Yeah, JT, unfortunately, sometimes one play can really define a day for Aiden O'Connell. And the turnover right before the half was a really bad mistake, right? We talk about decision-making at the quarterback position. I don't think he's 100% when you watch his mobility, or I should say his lack of mobility from the pocket. He got taken down a couple times yesterday, but the turnover before the half, and I think what bothered me the most about it, and I've seen this a number of times this year from Aiden O'Connell, he starts to his left, his eyes are to his left, he's trying to find an open receiver, he's late coming back with his eyes, and he tries to throw one to the back, and it's a bad throw, it's an uncatchable ball, it's a turnover, and it results in points for the Chargers. And rather than the Raiders going into the locker room before the half with some momentum and some points, instead they go in with the Chargers getting points. And so to me, that's it's a big turning point in the game. And I thought overall there were some good things from Aiden O'Connell. I think when you evaluate his body of work, I think what's so difficult is you look at the missed games, right? So he gets the start in week 6. He plays some games. He gets hurt. He's out for over a month, and he comes back. He plays a couple games. He gets hurt again. He's out of game. So that was the challenge, I think, with him. But I think the biggest mistake that the coaching staff made was I would have started him to begin the season. If it didn't go well the first month, then I would have played Gardner Minshew. We already knew who Gardner Minshew was, a capable backup quarterback in the NFL, a guy that's probably not going to be able to go from start to finish, whether it's being able to last physically a 17-game season, or even from a production standpoint. He hasn't really shown that in his career. I wanted to find out more about Aiden O'Connell, and I think this was a disappointing season because, like last year, we fired the coordinator during the season, and this year we did that again. And I think that certainly didn't help his development. But I would say overall, it was a mixed bag for Aiden O'Connell in the second year. And I think in terms of the evaluators, it makes it very difficult to decide whether or not this guy could be your starting quarterback in 2025, regardless of what happens here in the coming days, the Raiders need to improve that room. That room has to become more competitive. And most importantly, when you look at the work on Sundays each week in the NFL, that position group has to be more consistent week in and week out.
I agree with you. It really does make the evaluation of Aiden a lot more difficult coming off another season with injuries and coordinator changes and things like that. But no matter who was at quarterback, it just seemed like we were never able to overcome, a bad play. What's the cause of that, you think?
You're right, Eric. Too many negative plays. When you really study the Raiders, I think there's a number of things that really jump out to you, right? I think slow starts. And let's get into the basics of the bad plays. I mean, too many negative runs. We've had 4 different running backs play this year. We've had a number of different changes along the offensive line. We've had a number of different quarterbacks play. We've had a number with 2 different play callers. I mean, you mix all that into, a big pot, and what you get is, an offense that's pretty inconsistent, right? Too many negative plays, too many tackles for loss, too many, sacks, too many turnovers. And I think, that's part of it. I think the most disturbing numbers for me in the season are the giveaways, right? Which are way too many in terms of, down the bottom of the league. And the poor starts. I mean, the first quarter scoring, just awful. And third quarter numbers, I think, are the worst in the NFL. I think it was 42 third quarter points scored this season. So you get off to these slow starts. You average about 3.2 points per quarter in the first quarter through 17 games. So you average a field goal to begin the first quarter in every game. That's not a great way to start. And what's even more disturbing is the numbers even lower in the third quarter through 17 games. So when they come out of the locker room in the half, at the end of the half, and they start the third quarter, they don't even score a field goal in the third quarter in 17 games. I mean, you talk about an offense that's inept. That's the problem. And I just think that, the defense, even yesterday, I thought the defense, held them to a bunch of field goals, kept them in the game. That's kind of been the story most of the season, even with the number of backups playing and without some of your best defensive players. And they kept them in the game. But the offense just, I think, grossly underperformed this season.
I agree. I want to stay with that for a second because the interceptions were daggers. I mean, you look back at every loss, Denver, the 100-yard interception, what happened here at the end of the half. They were in this game with the Chargers. They were definitely in this game, and the defense was rolling, and they were very physical. And the Chargers couldn't get going until one play, and then kind of everything fell apart after that. And, Rich, as you analyze games as good as anybody I know, the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third was a massive problem this year. And I think it had a lot to do with aggression. Let's get to halftime and make sure we don't make a mistake. Let's come out in the third quarter and not make a mistake. Instead of using these weapons like Jacoby Myers, who we'll get to, and Brock Bowers, who had a great year, saying we're going to go into halftime and we're going to dictate what we want to do, and we're going to make adjustments in the third quarter, and we're going to come out aggressive. I didn't see that all year.
Well, you mentioned Brock Bowers. He had no catches in the first half. I mean, just 3 targets. So I think it's frustrating in terms of how the personnel was used at times. It's frustrating. I think when you look at the overall valuation of the team, I think there were some positives. Obviously, we talk about 2 young offensive linemen that played a lot of football this year. Some young players in the secondary. I think some young guys along the defensive line. And I think, the big story to me was Brock Bowers this season. I mean, I think when you try and evaluate what he did, and you look at a change at the coordinator, multiple quarterbacks playing this season, and he still went out there each week and put up big numbers. So, I think there's some things. Jacoby Myers, I mean, guys, not just yesterday. I mean, if I'm looking at moving forward, right, with this football team, I want players who love playing. Give me Robert Spillane, Max Crosby, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and I could name more, but just those type of guys. Let's just see if we can build a locker room with those type of players, that mentality, that toughness, that physicality, that passion for football, that passion for practice and working out and meeting and getting better at your craft. To me, that's how we have to build this thing out, because when I watch it, there's some good plays, there's some bad plays, as EA points out, like the too many negative plays in a game offensively. And I think when we look at the team that we play, the Chargers, they had the second fewest giveaways in the NFL this season with 9. and they had the fewest penalties per game. They're a well-coached team that's not going to shoot themselves in the foot. And too often, as I watched the Raiders, it was just one mistake at the most inopportune times, like the turnover we talked about before the half from Aiden O'Connell. I mean, just throw the ball away, but don't turn somebody else's mistake into a bigger mistake. And we saw that way too often this year with the Raiders.
Yeah, it's like a mirror you want to look at. You see those Charger football team, about their foundation and what they're about. Rich, we have a lot of decisions to make as far as free agents are concerned. 17 unrestricted free agents. We have 5 or 6 restrictive and exclusive guys. And you talked about, the kind of players you want, foundational players. Now it's competition for upstairs, for player evaluations. What's your take on some of the players?
Well, that's a great point, EA. I think the process begins today for Tom Telesco and for Mark Davis. They've got to decide what they're going to do in a number of different areas. Obviously, this is a difficult day in the National Football League. Some coaches have already been fired. More will be fired. Rounding out the coaching staff, trying to figure out that. So I think what begins today for the Raiders is an evaluation process. First, we start with the staff. And that includes the head coach, the coordinators, the position coaches. Or what are we going to do there? We're going to continue to build out this staff. We begin with the scheme evaluation, right? When we look at the scheme evaluation, what are we doing offensively? What are we doing defensively? Why are we getting kicks blocked? Why aren't we better in these areas? And then we get into personnel evaluation. Like, where do the Raiders need to be better? I think the Raiders need to be better up front. There's no question about that. The Raiders need to have a running game. We're the worst running game in football. The Raiders need production and consistency at the quarterback position. The Raiders need to upgrade their wide receiver position. I think when you lose, Devontae Adams, you got to replace that type of production. We've got 2 really good tight ends. Michael Mayer is really going to offset what Brock Bowers does. So to me, that's just the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively, we got to get healthy. We got to get some of those players back. And I think we got to build out the rest of that roster. I think you need to play great defense. You need 2 things. You need great pass rushers and you need great cover corners. When you think about all the great Raider defenses in years past, that's what they had. They had great pass rushers and cover corners. And quite frankly, a lot of them in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think those are areas where we have to get better defensively.
Rich, wrapping this up, the Raiders have the 6th pick overall. So looking at where they're at, if they want to get a quarterback in the top 2, they're going to have to move up. Where they're in a good position to do that. They could get the best wide receiver at number 6. They could get the best tackle at number 6. They can do a lot of things. And I think this is a really important offseason, as you mentioned, with the free agents that they have to sign in-house, let alone the money that will be left over, which will be a big number to go out in free agency and get elite players who are proven. But it's going to come down to that 6th pick, and it's way out there in April. But where's your head at on what the Raiders should be thinking about there?
You're right. It's so far out there, JT. I just think that we have to go through the evaluation process. I mean, anyone would just sit there, look at it and go, the Raiders have to get better at the quarterback position. Let's start there. I don't think there's any question that has to happen. Now, how does it happen? There's maybe a couple quarterbacks available in free agency. When we look at the draft, I don't think it's a great draft when it comes to the quarterback position. When you look at who's picking ahead of us, a number of those teams need help at the quarterback position. So if you have 2 really capable quarterbacks of being first-round picks, they're most likely going to be gone. So I think that it's kind of a difficult spot to be in. It's certainly doable. I think there's a lot of work that has to get done. But I think, as I said this yesterday on the radio broadcast, the one thing that has to happen for this organization, we need to find a way to create stability within the organization. We cannot keep having these turnovers with the coaches and the quarterbacks and on and on. I was reading out a stat yesterday. Since 2011, the Raiders have had 8 different head coaches. Only Jacksonville is tied with Jacksonville for the most during that span. We need to figure this thing out. We need to figure out stability with the coaching staff, with the play callers, with the quarterback. That has to happen. If you just look at what's happening in Kansas City, you look at what's happening in Denver, they got their quarterback. We saw the Chargers quarterback yesterday. We have to have a flamethrower. We have to have a trigger that can go toe-to-toe with those guys, week in and week out, year in and year out. We need stability with the coach and the quarterback, and that's the best path moving forward.
Thank you, Rich. We'll see you throughout the offseason. Appreciate you.
Thanks, bud.
You guys are the best.
There he is, Rich Gannon.
He's
Very
right.
important what he said at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, this offseason is massive Massive, because there's so many big things that needs to happen. But hearing it from a former quarterback, it kind of hits home.
It really does, JT, and he points it right where it needs to be. And we need stability at those critical positions, and the foundation for this franchise needs to be set this year with the players, the administration, the supportive staff, the coaches, everyone. We need to be on point. It needs to start this offseason. I think Tom did a really good job in this draft. So, of course, getting Brock as a foundational piece, those are the type of players that are going to help this organization, this franchise, get to where it needs to be.
When we come back, we'll go inside the locker room one last time at Allegiant Stadium as the Raiders wrapped up the regular season as we continue on Raiders Roundtable.
Hey Raider Nation, when you come to see the Raiders take the field at Allegiant Stadium, you should do it from the best seats in the house. So grab an ice cold Coors Light, and you can enter to win tickets for these Coors Light silver seats at Allegiant Stadium. With plush seating, state-of-the-art beverage coolers, and wireless phone chargers, there's no better place to watch your Raiders bring home the win. Celebrate responsibly.
In 300 feet, turn left.
With Cox's fiber-powered internet, you can do brilliant things.
Exit approaching.
Like upload your voice to Dad's GPS in no time flat.
And I miss you, Daddy. Happy birthday.
Get multi-gig download speeds powered by fiber. Upgrade your internet today with Cox, the nation's fastest internet provider. Limited availability in select areas.
It's in our very nature to find exhilaration in the new, to seek the excitement of the unexpected, an endless yearning to experience what lies beyond the everyday.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
How did Ella bake her way to the top? It all started with one smart decision. She test drove a certified used truck from her local Ford dealer. It was inspected, backed by a Ford warranty, and fit her budget. A Carfax report was the cherry on top. Soon, a pinch of confidence became a truckload of ambition. Cupcakes became customers, customers became regulars. Ella's next great investment? Herself. We're not saying Ford Blue Advantage was her whole recipe to success, but a key ingredient, no doubt.
Raiders Roundtable is brought to you by Coors Light. Choose chill, an official beer of Raider Nation. Celebrate responsibly. 2024, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. America First Credit Union, the official credit union of the Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome back to Raiders Roundtable. So now we get the opportunity, we do it every week. We go inside the locker room after these games and hear from the players. They're sometimes emotional, but this is a wrap-up session. We start with Aiden O'Connell.
How proud were you of your teammates that were able to stick together like that and not give up, even though it was a bad skid?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think what I'm definitely learning now, it's the end of my second year, there's no wasted years in the NFL, even if you don't, win as many games as you hope to or play as well as you hope to. I think, it's awesome just to build relationships, obviously, with coaches and with my other teammates. And so, yeah, I'll definitely remember this year. It's definitely a trying year, but I think those years you learn to appreciate down the road. So I know I'll look back and appreciate this year.
He's been through a lot.
He has been.
I mean, a tremendous amount of personnel changes, coaching changes, not your typical second-year guy.
Yeah, and more importantly, not healthy all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and you could tell, you know, by the beginning of the game, a little banged up and not moving like we've seen him move in prior games. So, but this was an important year for this young man to kind of build on himself. I think he deserves an opportunity to play in this league. I think he has the great arm strength. He processes pretty well. Just have to work. Obviously, we all have to work on some things, but it was a difficult year for Aiden. You know he wanted to come in here and really prove that he belongs as a franchise quarterback. Just things didn't work out as the way as some things should have for this young man. But I like Aiden. He's a good kid.
Good guy.
And I think he deserves an opportunity to be in the National Football League.
He's a good player in this league, and he's still developing as a quarterback. So is Brock Bowers developing. What a year he had, including a touchdown yesterday.
Brock, what did you think of Jacoby passing the 1,000-yard mark? Both of you guys able to get over that mark during the season. Thoughts on that for Jacoby?
No, it was awesome. I'm so happy for him. I mean, he couldn't have happened to a better guy. He's a great guy, and super happy for him.
Is there anything, for playing with him up close that is a little underrated about him that stood out to you that you didn't know about him heading into the league?
Yeah, I mean, I guess during spring I was like, dude, this dude's a baller. Like, I don't know how he's not getting more catches, and then this year he exploded. So, it was good. It was cool to see.
He understands what a good teammate is. Coming out of Georgia with 2 national championships. Half his teammates are in the NFL.
That's right.
Like what he said about Jacoby there. I think those two together, whatever happens in the offseason, build more plays for those two working off each other.
Yeah, and you can see the progress that was made with those 2 football players when you come down to the middle to end of the season. You have games where Brock is just so dominant, just so good that the focus is on him, and then Jacoby's able to benefit by that, maybe being on the number 2 corner or number 2 cover guy. So you go into the next game, and offensively you think they're going to be dialed in on Brock, so we're going to start off and try and really feature Jacoby here, and he does a really good job. Then you can go back to Brock. So you see that combination of play calling and players really having impacts on this game. It's just a situation to where it was a little bit too late in the season, JT, and I think these guys next year are going to have a great spring, great opportunity in preseason to kind of get it going. And these guys are going to come back and be as good or better than they were this year.
Yeah, a good individual milestone for every receiver is 1,000 yards. And it was important for Jacoby Myers, a really great player and a leader on this team, to hit that milestone yesterday.
How appreciative? It seemed like your teammates were making an effort early on, like, hey, we're going to make sure this happens. Like, how appreciative were you about that?
I mean, that's honestly the biggest part about it all. Like, this was a group effort. Like, this ain't just me going out here running routes asking for the ball. Like, a lot of people wanted me to get that. So it's for all of us, and we're going to celebrate this whenever we can. So that's my favorite moment, just the guys realizing this was a group effort, man. A lot of people kept me motivated. A lot of people kept me pushing, man. So it's all of us, man. We deserve this.
A little emotional?
I mean, no, I'm straight, but I'm just grateful more than anything because I just know everybody who really supported me this whole way. And I know they're happy right now.
I expect him to be around here
a
lot.
Oh, yeah.
In the offseason, working on his skill.
That's right.
But also count on him as a leader and get everybody in the building, get those workouts going. And then there's going to be young receivers that come in, free agents or draft players that he can help along the way.
Yeah, I think he learned a lot from Devontae Adams, how to mentor, how to help out the younger players. He's unlike, most receivers, he's a humble guy.
Yes.
And I love that aspect about him. He's always trying to work and get better and knows that his position coach, Edgar Bennett, is a phenomenal coach and was right with him. You heard him smile about, the team and the coaching staff all wanted him to get that milestone, to get over 1,000 yards. And that was an effort. That was a combined team effort to get him to over 1,000 yards. So just a very humble guy, but a really, really good football player. And I'm happy he's on our football team.
Well, the Raiders will head into the offseason now, but not for upstairs in this building, not for the executives. Big decisions are being made. As we look at the calendar here, Super Bowl goes later into February, and then we're right around there with the franchise tag. And then the Combine from February 24th to March 3rd will be really important because, as we said, the Raiders have the 6th pick overall. And then free agency. And I want to stop here for a minute. This is the biggest free agent period in the history of the Las Vegas Raiders since they've come here from Oakland. There's money to spend, and as we talked about, they got to spend it on players in-house and then have enough to go out and get some big-name guys.
Yeah, we probably have over between unrestricted and restricted, maybe over 20, 23, 24. Yeah, and out of that big list, there were probably 18 of those players who were significant players or starters on our football team. So there's some big decisions to be made. And right now the competition is not on the football field, it's upstairs. All the player personnel, the evaluations of our team, of other players. We need to find those foundation pieces, those guys who are going to help this football team, have some consistency and eventually get to a point where we're preparing for playoff games. We're preparing for home field advantage and those things. These are the players that are going to help this get over the hump.
Well, it's been a pleasure working with you again,
always,
my friend, my
always,
partner. You mean
JT,
everything to me. And now it's the countdown to Canton.
Yes,
so
it is.
So the next couple of weeks, we might need you back out here again.
And I will be.
No doubt
Happy
about
to do that.
Yeah, and for everybody who watches the show, we greatly appreciate you. We come on after a long Sunday when the teams at home are on the road, and we really look forward to the opportunity of being here with you all season long on Raiders Roundtable. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. It's a big off season. Keep it here, and we'll follow everyone throughout the offseason at Raiders.com.